How's it going, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. Time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. Let's get into the books I read this week. Starting over in Marvel, we have Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 11. Now, this is a really cool issue because it actually talks about Wilson Fisk and the other families in New York kind of coming together to develop a plan to take out Spider-Man and Harry as well. So they've been ruffling some feathers lately. They stopped a bank heist from Mr. Negative right now, and they're trying to, figure things out. And Wilson's having to throw his weight around a little bit, reminding everybody that he is the top dog in this place, right? They all serve him. So pretty cool little behind the scenes look right there that we haven't really gotten before in this series. The majority of this book, though, is focusing on Peter and Mary Jane. Like, should she be worried? Things are escalating. He's coming home beaten up and things like that. So we have a lot of talking heads, but it is interesting stuff. And there are questions that you would ask, right? If like your spouse comes home and they're beat up, and this is a relatively new thing for them to have to explore. So a lot of cool things are happening inside of here. A couple more revelations towards the back. So this story is continuing to progress pretty fast, I think. And I'm really enjoying the conversations. And you'd think that those would be the boring parts, but they're actually pretty intriguing. So Ultimate Spider-Man number 11 is doing a lot of things we don't expect in comics, doing them really, really well. So let me know if you're reading it, though, down below. Next up is SpiderMan Rain, Volume 2. This is issue number 5, the conclusion of this run right here. So I really enjoyed the overall arc for this entire thing. I will say that it feels like it needed maybe 6 or 8 issues to flush some things more out. This one right here is all about the conclusion, right? What is Wilson Fisk up to? What is the Kingpin up to? What has he turned into? And there's a battle towards the end with all of our characters, including him. And, what is this charade that he's built, that he's promised all these people? They want to ascend to the next level. What does that mean? We see that inside of here and the sad truth behind it. Also, we get to see a pretty amazing revelation at the end as well, as far as like what else is going on in the world right now. So a lot of new things pop up in here and a lot of exciting moments in this book. A lot of the action is top tier. I love that. The art is spectacular. It's a pretty good run overall. I feel like I need to do a read through again just to kind of like make sure I got all the details under control. But a lot of great emotion inside this book, crazy action, amazing scenes, and we get some interesting cameos in this book as well. So SpiderMan Rain issue number 5, volume number 2, not too bad. Let me know if you guys read it. Next up is Wolverine issue number 3. Continuing this one because I'm just still intrigued about like where we're going to go. Is this book eventually going to bleed into Uncanny, or is it going to be its own thing? So that's why I'm sticking around for this. We are continuing and paying off the story arc with Wendigo right now. So we're having to deal with that. Wendigo is actually a curse that has infected this new kid. He's trying to understand why it's happening to him and like how to control that monster within. So Wolverine's having to like dial it back a little bit because it is a kid that's suffering from this, but at the same time he has these other agencies trying to hunt them down, all this weird stuff, and a legacy villain is still on the run, and we get to catch up with him towards the end of this book and see what he's doing next. So if you're into the Wendigo character, you might really enjoy this book. Some pretty cool action scenes in here, but overall it felt a little flat, to be honest with you. But yeah, Wolverine issue number 3. Let me know if you guys are reading it. How are you liking it so far? Let me know down below. Going over to DC now, we have Wonder Woman issue number 15. Pretty interesting issue. It all starts with a lullaby, right? Princesses jumping on the bed, one falls down and bumps their head. Every time we go through a new princess, we are exploring one of the other Wonder Women, right, out there, and how they're taking apart like the financial structure of this evil patriarchy, right? So we have Yara going in here and stealing like some of the bank stuff. We have somebody else like taking out a carrier that's like full of all their gold and whatnot, or whatever kind of physical possessions they have. They have somebody going undercover and taking out the guy that deals with all the stocks and all the whatever, you know what I mean? And so we are completely destroying this entity and like their financial means. So it was pretty cool to see the story like bounce around a little bit in that perspective. And we have Diana sitting in the background, like singing this lullaby in between each one of these stories that's taking place. So I thought narratively that was pretty clever. The artwork continues to be really strong in this book. I can't wait to see like where it's going though. Like what is the final boss in this entire series? Not entirely sure, but we're going to see what's going on in future issues of Wonder Woman. Let me know if you're reading it down below. Next up from DC is Batman Robin Year 1. We have issue number 2 right here. I really liked issue number 1. It's another Batman book with Dick Grayson. It is a Year 1. A lot of these themes, a lot of these stories, even like scenes we've seen before in other stories, but I just love the way that Chris Samney is handling it and his artistic style layered on top of it. It is just so good. We have a lot of cool villains coming up in here as well. We have a guy that's kind of taking over Gotham right now. We have Two-Face coming on the scene, trying to align himself with him because he knows he's a badass guy. And of course, we have Dick Grayson doing some crazy stuff around the house, like child services is coming around, checking up on stuff. People think that Bruce Wayne is crazy adopting this child, things like that. And so, there's a lot of cool moments in this book. A lot of great conversation, but damn, that artwork is just so incredible inside of here. So, we're learning a few things about Batman and Dick Grayson in here, and I'm really enjoying the entire story so far. We have issue number 2 out this week. Let me know if you're reading it. Let's go over to some indies. We're going to start with Critical Entertainment. We have Planetary Expansion issue number 4 right here. So what I love about this book is there's a lot of unknowns still about our main character and like this gang he used to run around with. There was a mission that they went on that kind of went south. He's on the run right now, and he's trying to jump on this spaceship that's leaving Earth. There's a lot of like conspiracy and a lot of weird things happening with like the crew of this ship and like their intentions and everything else, the command of this ship. Essentially, they're leaving Earth right now, and all these people are excited to be on there, but there's something deep and dark happening underneath the layers here. And so it's going to be fun to explore that a little bit more. So the art in here is pretty cool as well. So we have our main guy trying to run right now, but he's getting involved in this spaceship and what's going on with the launch and everything. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see where the story goes overall once they're out in space. And there's a big cover up, I think, in the story that we're going to be digging through a little bit more. So Planetary Expansion continues to be a solid book. Let me know if you're reading it. Next up is Quarrel. We have issue number 1 right here. Great artistic style inside this book. It's very like watercolory, and I really enjoy that. It's a very simple story. We have some birds that are, asserting their dominance. They're very territorial in here, and we're featuring these 2 birds on the cover right here, flying through the city, kind of like attacking each other and kind of like trading blows, which I thought was pretty cool. So you do know that birds do this in real life. They're very territorial. They like to protect their nests and things like that. We have some pretty cool moments in here as well. So I really dig the art style and the simplistic story in here. No dialogue, nothing like that, but the message is very clear inside of here. So Quarrel issue number 1, let me know if you read it. Going over to Boom Studios, we have Minor Arcana issue number 3. This was probably my favorite issue of the series so far. We're only 3 in, but it's been a pretty solid book from Jeff Lemire. If you like Jeff Lemire's art style and just his like emotional energy that he puts inside of his book, you're really going to dig this one. It's about conversations. It's about realizing who you are, realizing your faults, and kind of moving on from there, forgiving others, forgiving yourself, and pushing through. Lots of mystery still in here. There's a magic element inside this book that we're exploring a little bit more, and our main character is really struggling with like her past life and where she is today, and she's kind of like giving up right now, kind of like leaving it into Destiny's hands and seeing what happens to her from there. She's kind of doing some good deeds in here as well, because she wasn't exactly truthful about this like experience that she gave one of her customers. She's like a medium and things like that, so she's a little more truthful in here, and she's reaping the benefits of that, I suppose, in here. There's some dark stuff about to happen in the story, I can just tell, but Minor Arcana issue number 3, it's a slow burn, but it's really enjoyable. So let me know if you're reading it down below. Where Monsters Lie issue number 2, we have Kyle Starks. This is over at Dark Horse Comics. If you liked the first volume, you're going to love this volume. It's pretty much a complete continuation of that. A lot of the same characters being pulled into it. This is Cul-de-sac though. We have a new environment, new serial killers all over the place, and so it's fun to see these guys like mingle a little bit in here. Again, very, very gory, so if you're not into that stuff, I would not recommend reading this book. We have one character that was like on the good guy side. He's like a cop, and he's being threatened right now. He's trying to be converted, or they're trying to convert him rather, to be on their side, the serial killer side. And they're kind of threatening like him and his family. Like if he doesn't play ball, they're going to take his pregnant wife out, things like that. There's a lot of deep, dark stuff happening inside this book, but there's so much humor in here as well. These characters are so unique and eccentric. It's just a blast to read this and like see that crazy dynamic between comedy and horror. It's just handled so well. So Where Monsters Lie Cul-de-sac, we have issue number 2 out. Make sure to read this one. Let's jump over to Image Comics. We have Stand Still issue number 4. This issue is really great. We're learning a little bit more about our villain in here as well. Pretty simple story so far. We have this device that can stop time. It got into the hands of this wrong dude, and you think that he's like a real villain, but he's actually on this revenge mission, albeit he's really sadistic in his methods. He's on this revenge mission to get back at everybody who hurt his wife or his partner or something like that. She ended up dying, and he really blames everybody else, and he knows about this technology to freeze time, and he's using it to his advantage to like seek out this revenge. So our main characters here, they actually understand what he's up to right now. They're trying to replicate the same time-stopping technology. They do, but there's some caveats in there. And so you get to see him kind of going through his revenge mission, and you get to see our protagonist try to catch up, right? And try to figure out what they're going to do next. So Stand Still issue number 4, solid issue. Let me know if you're reading it. The next 2 are from Ghost Machine. We have Geiger issue number 8. What a great issue of Geiger this was. Man, this reminds me of a Walking Dead issue for sure, where like Rick and team find a new compound full of people who are relatively untouched from the craziness that's going on, and they bring all the the drama with them. So this is exactly like that. We have Geiger, we have our nuclear Nite. They rescued some kids that are in these hazmat suits, and these kids actually are wandering off against their parents' wishes out into the open, and so they brought them back to their community. And there's a lot of like weird stuff going on. You think there's going to be a lot of drama between the community members and Geiger and our Nite, and there is, but you know, everyone's trying to like be peaceful, you know what I mean? They don't want to cause any drama, but the powers that be over in Las Vegas are teaming up right now, and they're going and they're joining forces, and they're going to go take out Geiger. So they're bringing hell with them to this new community. So I thought it was handled really, really well. And again, it reads just like a typical Walking Dead issue when Rick and team finds a new community. So Geiger continues to be very, very strong. We have issue number 8 out. Let me know if you read it. The new one from Ghost Machine, from Peter Tomasi, we have Rocketfellers issue number 1. I didn't read any kind of early releases of this. I think they were out there, if I'm not mistaken, maybe some ash cans or whatnot, but I didn't really know what to expect within this book, and I was blown away by this one. It was handled really, really well. We have this team, this family rather, on here who's from the distant future, I believe. And so they have the technology to go back in time. There's a whole like organization around this, but there's this real shady villain that is following them. And they do a really good job of opening this issue up with like how dangerous this villain is inside of here. Even some family sacrifices are needed so the family can escape. Then they kind of flash forward to more present day. They have this awareness of technology, either like future technology or whatnot. They reference it in casual conversation with like neighbors and things like that. And it's just really funny to see like their reaction to those conversations. These people are not used to living in this present day, like 2024 present day. They're used to living far into the future. So they're trying to get used to this, right? And all the while, like the main goal for them is to get back home. But like, is it safe enough to do that? If we time travel, are we going to get the attention of this villain that we had narrowly escaped, right? So there's a lot of great things happening in here. The other spectacular thing is just the art in this book. It's just really well done from Manipul. I'm loving this book so far. Issue number 1, very strong in my opinion. Let me know if you read it. Next up from Daniel Warren Johnson, we have Riley Rasmo, Mike Spicer, The Moon is Following Us, issue number 3. We're continuing to unpack like what exactly is happening to their daughter inside this issue. We had a big information dump in issue number 2. We know there's this evil force that's keeping her in this coma state. There's this like magical wizard guy who's able to transport them into this fantasy world and actually combat these forces, you know, to take these things out so she can, you know, wake up their daughter in the process. Now, we have some family dynamics that are going on. Very strong mother, kind of a cowardly father. We explore that a little bit more inside of here as well. And we get to see some epic battles and just a great art swap between Riley and Daniel Warren Johnson. They're doing such a great job of trading pages in here. Handled really well. Great little cliffhanger, shocking moment at the end as well. So they're just doing everything perfect inside this book, I think. So Moon is Following Us, issue number 3. Let me know if you're reading it. Then the last book we read this week was Ice Cream Man. We have issue number 42, the horror house issue right here. I think the next one is going to be one-page horror stories from like a slew of creators. I cannot wait for that one. But this book was pretty powerful as well. One of the more powerful stories I think that Ice Cream Man has had in a little while, maybe even this year. We are following a family right now. They were left this house by a deceased aunt. They're going into it. It's more of a horror house, obviously, as the title would allude to. They find these 3 doors down below, and there's 3 family members. They all kind of align to it. They're drawn to it. And when they open these doors, they're actually living like actual horror stories in real life. Like you think that horror stories are messed up. The real world is really messed up, and they explore 3 very specific items inside here behind each door, and like you can't help but resonate with like the impact of these things. And again, this is real life. We don't need to make up horror stories to like see just how bad things can get. And this book really explores that as well. So I'll let you read this issue to kind of like figure out what stories we're talking about. We also get like a pretty rare appearance of the Ice Cream Man himself in here and the monster that he really is, the things that he's doing in the background. And there's, of course, a lot of Easter eggs and ties to the previous Ice Cream Man books. None of it is essential reading. You can jump right into this issue just like any other Ice Cream Man book, but long-term readers will appreciate that connective tissue that Prince puts inside this book. So Ice Cream Man, very strong issue. Let me know if you read it. All right, guys, that's all I read this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you read down below and what your favorite books of the week were. While you're down there, like, subscribe, share, hit that bell notification to be alerted whenever I put out new videos. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the comments.